Meet Travis, an 11-month-old Belgian Malinois. And if you blinked, yeah, he does look a hell of a lot like my dog Stark. But that's where the similarities end, because Travis is on the edge. His owners can't walk him without getting bit. His reactivity is through the roof. When he sees another dog, it's like a red mist takes over, and no amount of screaming, food rewards, corrections, or pleading can get through to him. His prey drive off the charts. To him, every dog's a target, and honestly, unless something changes fast, he's a few months, if not weeks, away from being euthanized. Now look, this kind of behavior isn't exactly rare in working line dogs, but just because it's typical doesn't mean it's tolerable. And the sticking point is we don't have months to slowly chip away at this. If we don't get on top of it now, someone's going to get hurt, and it'll probably cost Travis his life. So what did we do? Well, while his owners went on holiday, we agreed to take Travis in. And I'll admit, I've got a bit of a soft spot for him. Partly because of the Stark resemblance, but more importantly, I saw a chance to show the exact process I followed over 10 days to turn things around. I'm going to break down the 3 areas I focused on that made the biggest difference. The ones that took Travis from this to this in just 10 days. Yeah, 10, that's not a typo. And if I'd known this stuff 10 years ago, mate, I'd have saved years of stress with my formerly reactive older dogs. But before we start, let me be clear. This wasn't your typical let's go slow and take our sweet time kind of plan. Travis is young, he's dangerous, and at a critical developmental stage. We needed results, and those results needed to come fast. So what you're about to see is raw, it's very real, and it's a little bit unorthodox, but it's what worked, and in this instance, that's what's most important. You ever feel like your walks are doomed before they even begin? Like your dog's already wired to the moon the second you open the front door? Well, would you ever expect to successfully meditate after 3 double espressos? No, that would be stupid. But that's exactly what you're doing with your reactive dog. Let me explain. It's not bad luck, it's bad timing. Not the time of the day, but time of arousal. If your dog is pent up and primed to explode, no wonder they're losing their head outside every dog they see. So how do we put them in the right frame of mind before that all-important socialization session? Well, I'm about to show you. Something that I try and reiterate to reactive dog owners, to my clients, to anyone that's having problems with their dog is exercise and socialization, or the exposure element, that the training that we do to get our dog used to the trigger, they need to be separate to begin with, because what we want to do is we want to show our dog the trigger whilst they're in a low arousal state as possible, and we can use obedience to create that. We could use a marker system. We could just stand there and do nothing with our dog. And so what we want to be sure to do early doors is compartmentalize the exercise we give our dog, and I don't really care how you do that. That might be just getting the dog out early and just walking the dog on leash for as many steps as you possibly can. That might be a play session. For some people, I've even seen them use a slap mill to exercise their dog, to allow their dog some fulfillment, to take the edge off their dog before exposing them to their trigger, whether that be dogs or whether that be people or cars or squirrels or whatever it might be. And so I've got Travis with me. He's obviously a Belgian Malinois, and so play's a pretty good outlet for that, because he pretty much comes pre-programmed to like a ball. And so throughout the whole time I've worked with Travis thus far, I've made sure before I've done any work around dogs, which I'm going to show you very shortly, before I've done any work around dogs, I'm going to make sure the edge is taken off him. And I do this with very small puppies all the way to older dogs, especially when we're trying to recondition how the dog feels about the trigger. So fulfillment, then exposure. We don't try and do them at the same time. I'm not going to walk my dog and take them full of beans and allow them to pull me out the gate, pull me out the door, and then just start barking at every dog or every trigger they see. I want to make sure my dog is in the appropriate mindset and he's not high on caffeine by being pent up before I take him out. And I know I have said this a million times on this channel in the past, but what's really important is that we're able to understand that exercise and exposure early doors in your dog's behavior rehabilitation, if that's what we want to call it, the best coming separate. Because we can't possibly
focus on having a really good exposure session with our dog and getting our markers right and make sure our dog is in the appropriate frame of mind, whilst we're also trying to exercise them, right? So let's say we're a boxer, okay? And we're preparing for our fight, our first charity fight or whatever it needs to be. Well, we've got to be fit to do boxing, but also we need to be skilled and we need to be technical. And so early doors, trying to do the both by doing our sparring when we have no engine and we have no aerobic or anaerobic capacity is going to mean that our technique suffers. And so early doors, it would be a good idea, whilst we're fresh and we don't have the lung capacity to be able to maintain good technique and stay active in the fight, if it were, we're going to separate those two things. We might do a technical sparring session, there's short rounds, and make sure it's really easy for us to make sure we're maintaining the techniques, we're keeping our hands up, etc., etc. And then away from that, we're going to do some road running just to build that engine up. And then later on, we're going to then incorporate the two once we've built up our lung capacity and we've built up our fitness. And it's exactly the same with treating reactivity for dogs, because I want to make sure that he's in the right state of mind. I want to make sure that I'm exercising him and building good habits that way, separately from the skill element of maybe obedience and giving him kind of the adequate feedback around the triggers to make sure we're pushing him in the direction he needs to go. So very quickly, I'm going to take him out and play with him, and then we might go for our exposure session. Okay, so I'm literally in my garden. I haven't got all that much room. I've got my dog on leash. I've got a ball, and I'm going to look to exercise them. And I don't care how you do this. Like I said, if you just put the dog on a harness and a belt, and you just know you're not going to bump into any dogs, then you just run. You just Forrest Gump that shit and take the edge off your dog. So many people, because their dog is reactive, aren't able to meet the dog's exercise needs. But if you don't meet the dog's exercise needs, you'll never push them through their reactivity and make things better. And so you have to be creative. So if you've got a small yard, a small garden, Trav, ready? Ready? Then we're still able to, ready? Oh, good boy. Play the smallest game of fetch in the world. Drop. Good lad. And if you want to learn how to play best with your dog, drop. And you want a full tutorial on this, just click the link in the description where you can download our free behavior Bible, drop, which will give you all the core components of training a dog, whether they're reactive or not, drop. Good lad. But for now, all I care about is literally giving Travis, good lad, drop, some fun, some exercise, drop, all whilst operating in, look, 5 by 5 meters. Ready? Ready? I don't even have a ball on the rope. I can't even play tug. Drop. Drop. Good lad. Nope. Drop. Good lad. Good boy. Good lad. Good lad. Good lad. Drop. Oh, drop. I can have a good play session, drop. So I don't want to hear from you guys, oh, well, I can't let my dog off lead, or he doesn't bring the ball back, or he doesn't drop it. Well, one, I can show you how to do all of that, but two, we're having a fun play session right now in a tiny space on the leash. Yes. And yeah, he's not like going for big runs, but that means I just have to do a little bit more. Maybe that means I have to get up out of bed earlier. Drop. 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 Yes, good man, good boy, good lad, Travis. Oh, oh, ooh, ooh, drop. Good lad, ready, get it. Oh, clever boy. Oh, clever boy, clever boy. Drop. Nice, get it. Woo, good boy. Oh, whoa, you big man. Whoa, what? Drop. Now, reactivity usually comes from, drop, one of two places. Prey drive, desire to chase. Maybe the desire to play, still linked to prey drive. Or defensive drive, insecurity, I want you to go away. The conflict drive, the desire to contest. Now, we're exploring both of those drives in a controlled fashion via play. Prey, yes. Whoa, 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 get out of it. And defense. Whoa, ooh, drop. and we're able to cap and control both. Yes. Again, link in the bio, or link in the description, should I say. Drop. I'll give you a full guide, drop, on how to get play out of your dog. Even if they don't care about toys, drop, they don't care about balls, they don't care about tuggies. But even then, go for a run with your dog. Put your dog on a leash. I don't care if they're even pulling at this point. We separate exercise, fulfillment. Get it? Good boy, Travis. Good man. You're a good man. So I'm going to do this for another 5 minutes or so, or however long Travis wants to play. And we'll do a time lapse with some music. Go. You're my clever man. Drop. All done? All done.
But here's the thing, just taking the edge off your dog isn't going to take us the 10 full yards, or whatever the saying is. First, we need to make sure we're speaking each other's language, literally. But how do we do that? Let me show you. Imagine moving to a foreign country, not being able to speak the native tongue, and then being expected to start a new job. Of course, that wouldn't just be stupid, but potentially impossible. What would be the first logical step? Of course, learn the language of the land. Yet so often we try and train dogs without teaching them a language that we can both get on board with. But do you really need 10, 20, or 50 commands to address reactivity? Nah, not in my opinion. True behavioral change doesn't come from barking commands, it comes from clear feedback. Obedience helps, sure. It buys you time, it builds impulse control, it lays the groundwork. But if I had to boil it down to the absolute bare necessities, it's going to be yes, and it's going to be no. Yes, I like that. No, knock it off. Those two words, when used right, are your foundation. But I know what you're thinking.
My dog ignores me outside anyway.
No matter what you do, your dog ignores you outside. Yeah, because dogs learn by association. Saying yes means nothing unless you pair it with something meaningful. Saying no, exactly the same. Here's some examples.
Bad. Good man. Yes. 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 That's too big. That's too big of a stick. But maybe not as big as your dreams, which I can only respect. So I feel like I should at least let you try. Kobe, bad. That's quite naughty. Come on. Good man.
But it's not as simple as just saying those words and expecting our dog to understand. So, how do we do that? Well, let me show you.
The bare minimum we want when we're training our dog how to behave around certain stimuli is a solid yes and a solid no. Now, I can already hear the people in the comments giving uproar, you should never tell your dog no, and no corrections and things like that. But I'm not here for politics. I'm here to show you how we got Travis from this to this in 10 days. Totally different mindset, a totally different dog, and a much happier dog. And so part of that was teaching Travis what he is not allowed to do. Now, whilst we're here, it's pretty easy to teach a yes marker. And if you, again, you click the link in the description, or pretty much any one of my other YouTube videos, I'll show you how to build a very strong yes marker. But time and time again, I get asked every single day, how do you teach that no marker? How do you teach your dog to stop doing things? Well, first and foremost, I'm going to caveat this. If you're putting your dog in a situation and you're telling them no a lot, and there's a lot of corrections, that situation is just too hard. Or you've not adequately taught your dog no, which I'm about to show you. I'm going to give you a really quick run on how to do this. But again, like I said, I'm not going to go through the rigmarole of teaching the dog yesterday. I've asked Travis's owner to do that before he came, and it looks really good. It's working really well. And so you guys can do that at home. Link in the description. Download the Behavior Bible. It'll teach you how to play with your dog, how to loose lead walk your dog, how to teach recall, and all the rest of it. The reason we put that information in the description is because otherwise all the videos we're going to do are going to look the same. Okay, so the bare bones curriculum is there for you to access whenever you want. You take that can be yours. You'll get a little login. It'll take you through 10 exercises you need that ties everything in together. But here we're looking at the nuanced case of Travis. So today I'm going to teach you guys how to teach your dog a proper no. Okay, so seldom do we ever start teaching no in a live run, e.g. when our dog is reacting and things like that. Just like our yes marker, it needs to be pre-prepared and it needs to be conditioned. So what I'm typically going to do is set my dog up with something in the house that I don't want them to do, and I'm going to rehearse that no marker to make sure it's effective before I expect it to work out and about around other dogs, etc., etc. So we've done our play, and now it's time for a lesson. Very quick run through, but essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark it just like we do our yes. But then I need to come up with an associative process after the fact to make sure that is instilled and imprinted on Travis. Okay, so how that's going to look, I'm going to say no or bad or quit or stop. Things that you've not repeated a lot and the dog's completely blown you off. I'm going to then interrupt him. So I'm going to make sure he doesn't continue to do the behavior. I'll show you that in my setup. Then I'm going to reiterate my command again, bad. I'm going to give him a little bit of a correction there. Then I'm going to give him a 30-second timeout. Now, there's many ways to skin a cat, and I don't recommend you do, but this is just something that's been proven effective with Travis and other dogs that are coming through our program to ensure that that no is super important. I could talk for hours on this following protocol and I could justify it, but I could also just show you it working in real time, and it's something that's nice and easy for you to copy at home, because of ultimately, if you don't have a no command, if you don't have a stop it command, you're not going to get very far with your dog. And I know that's going to put people in uproar, but it's just fact of the matter. Again, I'm not here for politics. I'm here to show you what's worked. We've got the results. I don't know what else you want me to say. Okay, so the bad command, the no command, whatever it needs to be, we're going to come up with a little bit of a setup here. Okay, so how that might look is bin, there, bin. So most of us don't want our dogs going through the bin. So there might be things in there that are going to be poisonous to our dog, etc., etc. Now, of course, we can manage this situation. We could cover the bin, we could put it away, we could put a crate over the bin, we could make sure our dog doesn't go in the room where the bin is, or we could teach our dog not to go in the bin. I'm going to show you how to do that today. All right, I'm going to give you a very simplified, quick version that has proven very effective with Travis. So I'm going to put the bin on the floor. I'm going to bring the dog out on leash. I'm going to bring Travis out on leash. And again, this isn't so much about the bin. This is about teaching Travis the meaning of no. I do not want to do that around dogs. I don't want to just throw him around dogs and start correcting him. That's how we're going to build unwanted superstitions. And so I need a dress rehearsal of my no. And I need to figure out what's effective with him, what's not effective with him, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we're going to use the word stop. Okay, that's going to be our negative marker, our stop doing that marker. I've got my bin. I'm going to put something in there he might want. I'll just put some kibble in there. I know I can hear people saying like, why would you set a dog up to fail? Because of failure is inevitable, and I got to make sure I'm able to bring my dog back on the path of success when he inevitably does fail. Now, how do I know I can do that if we've never rehearsed failure? And so we're much better setting our dog up in a controlled environment when we know we're going to successfully stop a behavior than never setting him up for fail in setup situations and fabricated situations. And then ultimately what's going to happen is we take him out, he's never experienced the process of being corrected and being told no or being told to stop, and that's going to make that situation more aversive for the dog and probably us. Okay, so I'm going to fetch him out, I'll do the thing, talk you through it. I've already got him on leash because we've just gone out and played there. Stop. Hey, stop. Stop. No, go bed. And again, just to refute anyone that says you can't use a crate or whatever as punishment, firstly you can, but if you decide you don't want to, that's fine, but you just got to give your dog some isolation time so they can process what has just happened. Too many times I see people correct their dog, and then what happens is, because we've all been taught you need to correct the dog in the moment, blah 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 blah, and he's being over and done with. I don't believe that to be the case. That's from evidence, that's from proof, working with lots and lots of dogs. I believe it to be the case that you must mark in the moment The punishment protocol, the process can be elongated to make it more intense without relying on really heavy corrections, and that'll imprint a bit of a process on the dog. So I'm going to bring him out again, I'm going to make friends, and then I'm going to offer him the opportunity to do the unwanted behavior again. Super, super important. That's the only thing that's going to tell me if it's worked or not. Okay, so I marked, I reiterated my point, I give him a timeout, I'm going to bring him back out shortly, I'm going to see if he wants to do it again. If he doesn't do it, that's fine. What we don't want to do, correct our dog, they go into a sit, and then we pay that will dilute our correction, that will nullify the purpose of our correction, and ultimately get our dog used to the equipment they've got on, get our dog immune to corrections, because if we tie reinforcement too close to quote unquote punishment, then we're going to create problems for ourselves. So super important, these little details, okay? Opportunity. Stop. Hey, stop. What the hell? Now I know Travis doesn't understand the words that I'm saying to him, but he can read my body language. We've had a few days together and he already knows that, hey, this means happy. How does he know that? Well, via play. And organically, dogs are going to kind of get the gist. They're masters at reading body language. So much so, they're actually better than humans. Conversely, he'll also know when I'm not happy either. Okay, so it's super important. I'm going to bring him out again. We're going to retry. I'm happy to do this 100 times if required, right? I'm happy to go through this process until he understands. And you will notice the moment where it kind of processes to him. All right? And there was the moment. You saw it there. And again there. I don't say good boy, I don't reward this, that might create me issues. I'm going to let him off that one. The criteria is head goes in the bucket. Stop. Stop. Big sigh of disappointment. The timeout can be on a back tie. The timeout could be just put the dog outside, a different room. Within our Training with Instinct course, if you'd like to sign up, we do a full module on this. It's about an hour and 20 long. It's a total deep dive. If you want to sign up to that, you can book a call in the bio, speak to our team. If it suits you, if it's a suitable program for you, you can come on board. We only have like 10, 15 spaces per month, so that's up to you if you want to join, no pressure. And so I'm ready to do rep number 3 or 4 now. Again, people are going to be uproared that I'm correcting the dog, that I've got a young dog on a pinch collar, all the things that get me the death threats and all the rest of it. But ultimately, like I keep saying, like I keep reiterating, we need that quick fix. And it frustrates me to the nth degree when other trainers say quick fixes are not what you're looking for and blah, blah, blah. Since when did quick become a negative metric? Especially when the dog is seriously on the path, his behavior, how much he's rehearsed the behavior, his genetics, to self-destruction, like quite literally self-destruction. And so why is quick a bad thing? Why is quick associated synonymously with fallout and all the rest of it? I've fixed plenty of dogs quickly without any fallout, and Travis isn't any different. And so sometimes quick is what we're after. Sometimes we need to get the message through really quickly. Otherwise, Mother Nature's going to deliver the message, like I said. Okay, let's try again. So we almost got there. I think this will be our successful rep. Saw the moment then. A little bit of avoidance. That's okay. A little bit of stress as well. Stress is okay. Stress is part of the learning process. Especially if he's been told no. Good lad. So I do this. Are we all good? Yeah, we're all good. So I do this over 2 different scenarios. I often do it with bin scavenging and then counter surfing. And only then, once I've had 2 successful repetitions, would I think about using it for my dog's problem. So once me and Travis started speaking the same lingo, the next thing I did, although it won't really be popular, really took our training to the next level. And well, this next bit might get me death threats. But like I said, I'm not here to please people. I'm here to save some dogs. Have you ever taken your dog to a rental field or the beach or a mate's garden, let them run wild for an hour, maybe 2? I bet they slept like a log after. And I bet that evening was the best they'd ever behaved. I bet the next day was a dream too. But a few more days cooped up and boom,
back to being a shithead again. That's because the fulfillment that your dog got from that off-lead freedom directly correlates with how much your dog may get up to no good. The more you let your dog be a dog, the fewer issues you'll see. And this brings us to the e-collar. The e-collar is my tool of choice here, not to suppress, but to enable Travis to live the life he needs to thrive. Off-lead freedom without the risks. And before you get your knickers in a twist, let's take a look at Travis just yesterday wearing his e-collar.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the e-collar. I'm going to give some do's. I'm going to give some don'ts. There's 1,000,001 ways to condition an e-collar. Some people, to quite a high success, use it as an out-and-out punisher, and that's some of the most established, successful dog trainers in history. Some people use it as low-level negative reinforcement to condition the e-collar, and then people use it as a cue in itself. Okay, so we don't always use it the same, depends on the issue we're working with, but here's some don'ts. Don't just put it on the dog and when the dog reacts, correct the dog. That's probably the worst thing you can do, and this is why e-collars have such a bad name, because of what people do is they do that. The dog doesn't have a conceptual understanding of what that stimuli is, what the pressure is, what that sensation is, and whilst the dog is reacting, just going to wind them up. It's like trying to throw a bucket of water over a fire. The water has oxygen in and it just exasperates the flame, and that's what's going to happen. And so, like our yes marker, like our no marker, the e-collar needs preparation outside of the situation. And let me be straight, the sole purpose of overlaying an e-collar for a dog like Trav is to get him off lead and fulfilled and his morning walks looking like this, instead of walking him around the block, wrestling him every time he sees another dog. It's nowhere near going to touch the sides when it comes to fulfillment for such a high caliber dog, or any dog for that matter. And so this, for me, is the path of least resistance to get Trav to his goals. And ultimately, like I keep saying, save his life, right? It's not that he needs a heavy hand because he's a high drive dog. It's just we need strategic application of yes, of no, and you have to come back when called if we want to make sure that we're tackling everything. And so people will say the e-collar is a quick fix. People will say the e-collar is going to make things worse, it's going to create fallout and all the rest of it, but of course it can. You can crush a dog's trachea with a flat collar. You can take a clicker and a strong food association and accidentally teach the dog to bark more. You can misuse every single tool. Does the e-collar have the propensity to create issues? Yeah, absolutely. And so I do recommend that you follow professional advice or have your hand held by a professional if you're thinking about utilizing an e-collar for your dog and the training, because there are things that can make things worse. For example, if I let him off leash now and he hasn't the conceptual understanding of the e-collar and he flies over to that toy or squirrel over there or whatever, and I'm just stimming away hoping he's going to figure it out, hoping he's going to put two and two together, well, probably I'm going to make things worse because I'm going to stim him. I'm going to take my finger off the button, I'm going to shrug my shoulders and say, hey, it didn't work. He's going to catch the squirrel or get to the toy, and he's going to figure out the pressure, discomfort is removed when I do the unwanted behavior. And a lot of people do that with their corrections on leash, they do that with the e-collar, they do that with pretty much anything, but with the propensity to be quite a high intensity, the e-collar can exasperate things and make things worse. And so we always start with a lower level that the dog can process. Maybe it agitates them a little bit. I would even do lower levels, like early perceivable levels for a dog that's had a adverse experience with the e-collar or is super sensitive. That's not Travis. He can join me, my dogs off lead, running around in the river and all the rest of it you've seen in the videos sooner rather than later. So it makes the day set up for success. And that fulfillment isn't playing just in the garden in that 5 meter by 5 meter space. It's, you know, really going for it. If you want a full e-collar breakdown and the do's and don'ts of e-collar, link in the description to our behavior bible. There's a whole module there. It's a seminar I did talking about how we can get the e-collar severely wrong. This section could be a 10-hour long video. I don't want to bore you all to death. Very effective, but please approach with caution.
And so thanks to the e-collar, every morning now starts with an off-lead walk. He covers 3 times as much ground as he used to. Then we train, but not for hours on end. 1, maybe 2 15-minute sessions a day. We start with play, We finish with a nap. And in between, there's a lot of standing still, giving yes and no feedback, as you saw in the demo, all whilst slowly closing the gap between triggers. And don't forget the naps, because of ultimately training creates opportunity for learning, but sleep is actually where the learning sinks in. No nap after training, you might as well not have trained at all. And that's it. That's all I've done in the first 10 days with Travis to make this miraculous transformation. Dog training really is that simple when you know which 20% of training gives you 80% of the results. And that's what I did here. I focused on the exercises and methods that give us the best bang for buck. Obedience can wait, loose lead walking can wait, place training can wait. Get your dog off lead, teach them yes, teach them no, learn how to play, and it will take you the majority of the way. I've got another week with Travis, and we're going to take things up a notch. So if you want to follow along, don't forget to hit that little bell. And remember, everything you've just seen only works if it's built on a foundation of common sense and a proper relationship with your dog. And if you don't have one of them yet, you click this video right here, and I'll show you exactly how to build it.